Australian Open win remains elusive for Alex Eala despite perfect start. The Australian Open marks the fourth straight WTA Tour event where Alex Eala lost a match after clinching the opening set as she falls to American Alicia Parks in her maiden main draw appearance in the first Grand Slam of the year. Manila, Philippines. A dream start turned into a nightmare end for Alex Eala as she crashed out of the Australian Open. Eala saw her breakthrough main draw appearance in the first Grand Slam of the year conclude swiftly after a stinging 0-6, 6-3, 6-2 loss to American Alicia Parks in the first round in Melbourne Park on Monday, January 19. Buoyed by a loud Filipino crowd that packed Court 6, Eala served a bagel in the opening set but lost steam the rest of the way as the big serving Parks turned the tables to advance past the first round of the Australian Open for the second time in her career. Parks, who is ranked 50 spots below Eala at world number 99, fired 12 aces and 40 winners in a stunning reversal of fortune between two competitors who had contrasting starts to the year. Eala began 2026 in style with a run to the semi-finals of the WTA 250 ASB Classic in Auckland, New Zealand, and lifted the Yvonne Goolagong Collie Trophy in the Kooyong Classic, where she beat Olympic silver medalist Donna Vekic for the second time this month. Meanwhile, Parks entered the Australian Open with hardly any momentum following early exits in the ASB Classic and WTA 250 Hobart International, where she finished with a combined 1-2 record. But Parks proved to be steadier in front of the partisan Filipino crowd as she relied on her serve, which went as fast as 196 km per hour. Even in the final point of the game, Parks, who peaked at world number 40 in 2023, punished Eala with a high-powered serve that resulted in a backhand error for the Filipina. The defeat meant Eala stayed winless as a senior in the Australian Open, as the 20-year-old has now lost in the first round of qualifying in each of the past 3 years. It also marked the fourth straight WTA Tour event where Eala dropped a match after clinching the opening set, similar to her exits from the ASB Classic, the Hong Kong Tennis Open, and the Guangzhou Open. If it is any consolation, Eala's Australian Open elimination opens up the possibility of her playing in her home event, the Philippine Women's Open scheduled from January 26 to 31st. Eala is a wild card in the WTA 125 tournament, which will feature fellow top 100 players Vekic, Tatiana Maria, Camila Osorio, Wang Xinyu, Solana Sierra, and Lulu Sun at the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center. While her Australian Open singles campaign is over, Eala still has a chance to go deep in the doubles category as she and Brazilian partner Ingrid Martins face Poland's Magda Linette and Japan's Shuko Aoyama in the first round on Tuesday, January 20th. Rappler.com. Australian Open win remains elusive for Alex Eala despite a perfect start. The Melbourne sun rose without mercy, pouring its light onto the blue hard courts like a spotlight that refused to blink. For Alex Eala, the day began with promise, the kind that hums quietly in the chest before the first ball is struck. Her shoes kissed the court with familiarity, her racket rested easy in her hand, and for a fleeting moment the Australian Open felt less like a fortress and more like an open door. She started perfectly. From the opening game, Eala moved with clarity and courage. Her footwork was crisp, her timing sharp, her intentions unmistakable. Each groundstroke carried purpose, not merely clearing the net but claiming territory beyond it. The crowd, polite at first, leaned forward. They had seen this story before, of course, young talent announcing itself on a grand stage, but something about her composure suggested this chapter might unfold differently. The first set belonged to her in spirit as much as on the scoreboard. She dictated rallies with patient aggression, redirecting pace, opening angles, and refusing to be rushed. Her serve landed with confidence, not overpowering but precise, as if guided by quiet conviction rather than force. It was the kind of tennis that whispers rather than shouts, yet still commands attention. For a while, the Australian Open seemed to bend. But Grand Slams are not won in moments. They are negotiated, argued with, sometimes wrestled into submission. And Melbourne Park, for all its sunshine and celebration, has a way of reminding players that promise alone is never enough. As the match stretched on, the air grew heavier. The rallies lengthened. The margins narrowed. Where earlier Eala found open court, now she met resistance. Her opponent adjusted, probing deeper, asking harder questions. A ball that once clipped the line now drifted inches wide. A second serve invited pressure. Tennis, in its quiet cruelty, began to tilt. Still, Eala fought. There was no collapse, no surrender. Instead, there was resolve, visible in the way she reset between points, bouncing the ball with ritual calm, eyes fixed, breath measured. She chased down shots that seemed already lost, sliding into corners, stretching rallies beyond reason. Every point became a small act of defiance, as if she were saying, "I belong here, even if the scoreboard disagrees." The crowd sensed it too. Applause grew warmer, more personal. This was no longer just about who would advance, but about witnessing someone test the limits of her own belief. Yet belief, powerful as it is, does not always rewrite endings. A break of serve slipped away. Momentum, that invisible but decisive force, shifted hands. The perfect start faded into memory, replaced by the grind of survival. Eala's strokes remained brave, but now carried the weight of expectation, her own, and perhaps that of everyone who wanted this breakthrough as much as she did. When the final point arrived, it did not explode. It simply landed quietly, decisively, on the wrong side of her hopes. The Australian Open win remained elusive. There was no dramatic fall to the court, no shattered racket. Eala walked to the net with grace, offering a handshake that carried both disappointment and dignity. Her face told a familiar story, the ache of knowing how close she had been, paired with the sharper ache of knowing that close is not the same as enough. But loss, in tennis, is never the end of the story. It is merely the ink between chapters. For Alex Eala, this defeat did not erase the perfect start, it reframed it. The opening set was proof, not of what she failed to finish, but of what she is becoming. It showed that she can step onto one of the sport's biggest stages and shape the match on her terms. It showed that she does not need to borrow confidence. She carries her own. The Australian Open is unforgiving, especially to the young. It tests not just skill, but patience, endurance, and emotional fluency. It asks players to lose, sometimes repeatedly, before it ever allows them to win. Many champions have walked this same path, collecting early exits like quiet lessons, learning how thin the line truly is between control and chaos.